Ladies and gentlemen, my locals crowd, I'm so happy to be here with you for this Orange Slice number 126. Got my coffee here. You guys want an update on the diet? Back on the wagon today. Now, I gotta be honest with you. By the way, the background sound you're hearing is the Phillies game. We're playing Washington. So I went on this camping trip with my buddy Jeff and did not stick to my diet very well. So yesterday I used that time to muster up my enthusiasm again, and today I'm back on the diet. Hence the coffee and counting calories and all that stuff. You know, my locals community, I really enjoy having you folks along with me, and it's nice that I can talk to you about things that I don't talk about with anybody else, that I don't share on the Last Symptom podcast. And I just want to tell you that I really enjoy having you folks along, and I love our community, our little tight-knit community on locals. Really happy to have you. And another thing I wanted to thank you folks about were the positive reviews on the Last Symptom podcast. That helps me out so much, you wouldn't believe, to give me high stars and to take time to leave positive reviews for the show. I appreciate that so much, and so I wanted to thank you for that. And today, for today's Orange Slice, I printed off a couple of the negative reviews that is on the Last Symptom podcast, and I thought we'd talk about them, because see, we can talk about people behind their backs here on locals because we're such an intimate, tight-knit little group. The first review says, "Unsubscribe. Please do not heed this man's advice. He's not a medical professional, and he will damage your recovery. This is toxic." Notice that these critics, they never give details, do they? So it's toxic, but they don't tell us why it's toxic or how it's toxic or how the information is wrong. Also, their argument is that I'm not a medical professional. And do you remember just last week I shared a quote on locals that I had heard that was just a beautiful quote and true. It's logically sound. And I'll just borrow that quote. "The information I share through the Last Symptom has or doesn't have merit on its own." You see, whether I'm a medical professional, a plumber, or a bank robber is utterly irrelevant to the value of the information. The information has or doesn't have merit on its own. So it doesn't matter if I'm a carpenter. That doesn't affect the merit of the information. So if there's something specific that they disagree with, here's what they should do. Here's what a grown-up adult does. And this is what I do throughout the Last Symptom podcast in every show. I build a case and I present it. So if there's something that they specifically disagree with, that's what they should do. They should build their case and present it. But they don't do that, do they? Either way, even if they were to build a case and present it, we're talking about folks who are unhealthy, looking for ways out of that unhealth, theoretically. So if they had the answers, the results of having the answers would speak for themselves, wouldn't it? Makes sense to me. If you know, and I don't, why are you still unhealthy? Wouldn't you having those answers mean that you would be cured of your unhealth? Next one says, "Do not listen to this man. This podcast is poison. I tried to listen, but the false information," they don't tell us what information is false, just there's false information, "that he spews is toxic. If you truly want to deal with BPD effectively, contact a trained professional. Don't subject yourself to these falsehoods. Again, we don't know what falsehoods they're talking about. They haven't presented, they haven't built a case and presented it. They haven't specifically said what is false. No details. Notice how these people, they never give specifics. But again, what this person doesn't appreciate, again, is that the information I share has or doesn't have merit on its own. It doesn't matter who I am, except that it does in this case, because I'm somebody that had the disorder. How many of your medical professionals out there have actually had borderline personality disorder and had to cure themselves of it? Not too many. So I've got the advantage. I've got the advantage. If these people want a medical professional who has no personal experience with actually having a disorder and actually having to recover from it, and that's what they take comfort in, they're free to, right? Personally, I like to learn from people who have actually done things, who actually have the experience of having accomplished something that I also would like to accomplish. To me, that's the smarter way to go about it. So I just want to share those two things with you. Get to talk a little bit behind these people's back. I think it's fair, right? They want to put a public statement like that out there, try to discourage people from taking advantage of the last symptom, then we should get to talk about that. But also, this was an excuse for me to tell you just how much your positive reviews matter, how much I value them. I don't take them for granted. I just noticed this week that there are a couple of new positive reviews, and if you are in our locals group and you're seeing this, I hope you know that bottom of my heart, I really appreciate that. It helps me and my work out a whole lot. So, I'd like to see what you guys have to think and have to say about these really unhappy, unhealthy people who, it cracks me up that these people who are all about, no, you're wrong, I'm right, I know, I have the answers. But you're not better. You haven't gotten any better. Your answers have gotten you nowhere. And you're telling me that I don't know what I'm talking about. That is rich. It's ridiculous. Anyway, Phillies winning 1-0, bottom of the 6th. And I'm going to finish her up and while I'm doing some work.